supporting them with the protection of, as I said, their intangible assets to the companies, and at the same time all the creation, and this is what the diplomatic conference is about, the creation of any artist, any writer, anyone who is creating a new thing in Africa, to have the possibility to take advantage of this creation by the protection through the system that it is going to be set up in this diplomatic conference.
Besides the system, what else can facilitate, actually, what can facilitate that system? What are those aspects that can facilitate a system that will protect my intellectual kind of property?
What it can facilitate is, first of all, for the companies to have an easy way to protect. That means to establish electronic tools. Just an example, an electronic filing that allow you to go to the bureau, to the Uganda bureau, and to have in a very easy way the protection, just filing some by electronic means, some application, and not having to have too much administrative burdensome in the protection. This is what we are trying among IP offices in Europe, in Africa, to improve, to facilitate the way on which creators and companies can protect their own intellectual property rights.
So what is the legal aspect like? If we take a picture of the EU IPO, how much is the involvement of the legal kind of technicalities in ensuring that protection?
That is very important.
Yes.
Of course, I mean, we are talking about a legal system, we are talking about regulations,
yes.
And for these regulations there is always the need of a legal advice, support by local lawyers or local representatives who can provide assistance and provide advice to the companies in order to know how to set up. What we do at the administration level is to set up a system, and what we do is to try to facilitate, as I said, with electronic means, that this is something much easier for the companies and not having too much problems in the moment that they want and they create and they establish a new, for instance, a new invention, a new design, that it is very easy for them to have a title that allows them to avoid any counterfeiting, as you were mentioning before, or just to have the possibility to trade with their own creations.
Okay, so what kind of legal framework did you come up with? I'm talking about the European Union now.
Correct.
That has seen the success of the protection. What kind of ingredients did it entail? And that has facilitated the success that we see, that you boast of as the European Union entity that is in charge of this protection? Because I want us later on to look at how it can be applied in the African kind of sense.
That's a very good question. What we did at the European Union level, I mean, we exist as a community, European community, as you know, since almost 60 years ago, is to consider that the European market, it was something important for companies to try to trade among all the different member states of the European Union without having, for instance, to register their trademark, their brand, country per country. What we did is to set up a legal framework which allows in one shot for a company to have the protection of their own rights in the 27 member states.
Okay.
So they come to our office, the UIPO, they apply for this, for the trademarks, and at this moment, with this a single application, they will have the protection in the whole European Union. And this was set up by a regulation, by a legal framework, agreed by unanimity by currently the 27 member states of the European Union.
That is where the irony is. 27 member countries agreeing on the same kind of design of the law. How easy is that?
Well, to be frank, it is not easy. It took the first proposal for this regulation was 1962. It took more than 30 years to agree to the European countries in this system. Finally, it is a success, I can tell you. We just registered a week ago the 2 million trademarks from, as I said, companies all over the world. But for this, you need to discuss, you need to debate, you need to agree, you need to negotiate. And this is something, as I said, that it is not done in 1 week. took us 30 years. This is normal. This is not easy to set up these systems, but once they are in place, it is of course very beneficial for any company, for businessmen to have the possibility to go all over Europe using the same title.
Okay. And there are countries that take advantage of countries of whom they're stronger than.
There's some countries that apply more than others. For instance, just to give you an example, right now the country who is applying for more,
because in every bloc in the world there are countries that we consider to be superpowers, countries that are a bit stronger. In such an arrangement, and there are countries that take advantage of others. Where a piracy can be done in a certain country, but because this is somebody from a bigger country and he may have protection in a way or another.
I would say that this is quite there's not so much, let's say, competition between countries in this field. I just give you an example. China. China is right now the companies from China is the ones that are applying more for trademarks in Europe. For many years we considered that there was some counterfeiting coming from China, and now they have decided at political level and the companies that it is very, very important to protect their brands, to protect their inventions, and that's why this is the first country in filing in Europe now on trademarks. This is I think a very good example of. For many years there was the American companies that they were the first filer in Europe. Right now is the Chinese. So the economy and the countries are evolving, and all of them they are taking advantage of the existence of these systems.
Okay, because I'm looking at Africa, where you're kind of now bringing this kind of an idea of which we have to get on board as an African community to be part of an arrangement like that. Don't we have to see countries that will take advantage of some weaker countries in Africa?
I wouldn't say so. Just give me I just give you an example. This diplomatic conference that it is taking place right now here, it's organized by a regional association very similar to the one that we have in Europe, called ARIPO, covering 20 countries in Africa, so establishing a system, a regional system, very similar to the one that we have, and it is a little bit the same than us. Of course, there is bigger countries, there's smaller countries, but all of them, they are taking advantage of the existence of these regional systems. In Europe, we have small countries and we have bigger countries, Germany, Luxembourg, and all of them, in some way, they participate and they all take advantage. It's the same thing in Africa with these 20 member states that make part of this organization. There is smaller and bigger countries, but more or less they all share the interest on having something that allows companies from all over the world to trade among all these 20 African countries at the same time. Now what we are trying to do is to go a step further and to try to improve all these systems all together in some way, taking advantage of some of the best practices that we have developed in Europe and in Africa, and to develop in the next 4 years with our program some activities that will allow to take advantage, for instance, of the new technologies. Something very important for the IP offices to develop with new technologies, artificial intelligence, blockchain, our systems.
Now, I want you to look at Africa as somebody that has been in this kind of system for some time. First of all, why do you think we have taken long to adopt protection of intellectual property to the level of the European Union? Of course, that is an advanced part of the world, but as well, Africa is a hub of intellectual property. Why do you think the protection has had challenges and slow in terms of achieving what the EU IPO has so far achieved?
First of all, because we were created a little bit earlier, so it's a timing thing. But it's not rocket science. Let's call it like this. I mean, we have the same competence, we have the same capabilities. It's just a question of learning of or trying to exchange practices of a system that exists in some years, and now that we have the opportunity on partnership to develop things together, because the existence of, for instance, the treaty that it is now being will be adopted on copyright here. Okay. So just to share practices or among colleagues. We are all colleagues in the intellectual property, the Ugandan, the European, and the regional one that I was mentioning before, ARIPO, and on this sense to see how the systems can again facilitate for creators in Africa, for companies all over the world, the protection of the IP rights in the continent.
We are still a community where some creative minds do not have the information of all this. The technological advancement is a bit still slow at a certain level. The awareness about the legalities and whatever that involves all this is still at a certain level, not that high. What steps do you think AFRIPI has to take as you launch it today to ensure a success with the consideration of all that?
That is an excellent question, and it is something that we are really thinking about. Now, just to take it by steps, now here what we are doing is to support the creation of the system. But of course, like you said, if you have a system, the creators need to know that they can take advantage of the system. If they are not aware about the system, of course, they will not use it and they will not take advantage.
That awareness is the gap.
Exactly.
How do we ensure its closure? To get to know that these people are all on board.
Yeah.
From wherever they are. We have artists in the remotest parts of Africa. How do we bring them on board, knowing the legalities, the technological involvements, and where to go and ask whatever questions?
This is exactly what we are discussing now. How in the next years, now that the system will be set up in the next 2 days, how we make awareness among the creators of the existence and that they can take advantage of the system. We will, with our program, and together with our African partners, we will do public awareness campaigns. We will try to get closer to the creators as much as we can, because we are talking about 20 countries, but at least through the administration of the different countries, to go and to explain them that if they create a song, they write a book, they paint a picture, they might take advantage of the protection, and then with this to have an intangible asset that will be much easier to recognize once it has been protected. But as you said, this is one of the challenges, not only in Africa, in all over the world, for the administrations to get closer to the creators in order for them to know that this exists and that it is something beneficial for them.
We talked about the countries in the European Union, and you said it took 30 years to bring everybody on board. How do you envisage the process that the African continent is going to have?
That is a real question that we are, not only in Africa. Just give me an example. Before coming here, I'm now in charge of the international cooperation all over the world within my office. I've been operating many years in Southeast Asia, 5 years and trying to bring the 10 countries of Southeast Asia, of the ASEAN countries, together in order to set up also among them this kind of systems. This is something that we try to extrapolate from one region to the other. I mean, there's not so much difference as such in the world. Is just to bring together countries in order to have the strength together to provide this assistance to the companies and to the business and to the development of their own countries. What I see is that given the fact that it took us many years, we in some way all the road that we did can facilitate a little bit the road that it has to be taken by the African countries, because there's some steps that are already there and they can get inspiration about what we did. I don't mean that this is going to be short, that it is going to be, because of course debates and dialogues and negotiations have to take place among the African countries, but some elements that we already work for a long time with them, they can at least learn or take some lessons on how we did this in a long term. So maybe not 30 years, but a shorter period in these negotiations can take place in the African environment.
In most of your submissions, you're talking about companies and business people.
Yeah.
I'm worried about an individual creator at a small scale. On their own, solely. Do they have any kind of, how do they get a voice to claim for what belongs to them?
That's something that it has been also, let's say, set up in the environment that needs to be created around the system. There is something that it is called the collective organizations. So organizations that gather all the creators in order to manage together their own rights. This is something that, for instance, for singers, for authors,
writers.
They bring together, writers, they
Actors.
get together and they have a single voice in order to, and they manage their own rights all together. This is something that it is very useful. It is always created when you set up a copyright system. We try, and this is something that we are going to try with Afripi, to give some elements in order for the creators.
The best way visual artists can claim for what belongs to them is having a block voice. Singers do the same, just like that.
Exactly. That is the point. As you said, it is very difficult for a single artist to know and to manage because they don't have the capabilities and maybe they are focused on what they are creating. So the thing is that these collective organizations help the creators in order to manage their own rights in a collective manner together and to talk with the administration and to protect their own rights and to take the let's say the income that it is created because of the existence of these creations.
How cheap or expensive is the technological involvement in all this? And what kind of support is there any way of support the Afripi and the African regional kind of arrangement should expect from the partners?
This is something that is one of the focus of our program, Afripi. We consider that we are registration offices. I mean, our main business at the UIPO, at the Uganda Registration Service, we are registrars. If we simplify with IT tools the systems for the users and for the persons who are working.
In terms of monitoring after registration.
Exactly. Or no, even by the applying for the registration. If you have a very simple, I would say, way to apply. Even now we are developing by cell phone the possibility to protect, to apply for a trademark, for a design. That will, of course, will not mean that someone has to come to the capital, has to go to the registration, because he will be able to do it from anywhere in a very easy way. Just to give me an example, a good example is what the airlines did many years ago when they facilitate the buying tickets by digitally. This is what we are also trying to do, to facilitate and to simplify the system for the creators, for the companies, in order not to have too many problems when they try to do it. So will be part of our public awareness systems to tell them, look, this is not so complicated, you can do it, and you can, with these systems, IT systems, with these new technologies, protect very easily your own creations.
Thank you so much, Ignan. We are taking a very short break, but on return we'll now concentrate on Afripi, why we are launching it today, what kind of objectives we are looking at as we start it, and how much do we expect it to achieve in a term or a spell we'll look at. Thank you so much for whatever we are sharing. To you watching, we are coming to you live from Munyonyo, and the discussion is to do with intellectual property. We are hosting a conference here in Munyonyo as a country, but still targeting intellectual property protection, and something is going to be launched today, that is the African Intellectual Property Rights and Innovations. How is it going to be managed is the main focus for this discussion. Do not go anywhere. Let me get back to you after this short break.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Senchu points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go. MTN.
The protection of copyright and related rights is vital to the growth of the creative industry and has cultural, economic and social implications in the transformation of the economy. This year, The African Regional Intellectual Property Organization member states will meet at Speak Resort Munyonyo to adopt the draft protocol on voluntary registration of copyright and related rights, the first ever in Africa. This will be the first protocol of copyright on our continent. Uganda will host the conference at Speak Resort Munyonyo from August 20th to 28th, 2021. Be part of this live coverage of the proceedings of the conference on the following dates. Live on your national broadcaster TV station, UBC TV. The President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will grace the opening of this diplomatic conference on Friday 27th August 2021. Join the conversation using the hashtag Copyright Protocol. This conference is organized by Uganda Registration Services Bureau with support of the Government of Uganda and the following partners.
Keep your eyes on the prize, eyes on the prize, eyes on the scheme. You gon' need eyes behind your back. Who you looking at? Who's looking at you? Blinded by love, maybe you need a better view. All eyes on you, all eyes on you. Biggie's eyes on you, Biggie's eyes on you. World's eyes on you, world's eyes on you. So what you gon' do? So what you gon' do?
Readjust your vision for the all-new season of Big Brother Naija, now streaming 24/7 on Showmax. Rated 18. Sign up at showmax.com.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Echa COVID-19 kijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Nature that nurtures our life on Earth determines the geographical surrounding that should be protected and preserved by the community.
This is the time we partner with UBC and protect the environment.
Our Environment is a program that will showcase the importance of human responsibility in a healthy environment, that is to say, conservation, waste management and recycling, disease prevention, biogas to mention but a few.
Support the program Our Environment on UBC.
Inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Thank you so much for watching. It's GMU Extra and we are coming to you live from Munyonyo. Like I said at the beginning, we are discussing issues to do with intellectual property. By the way, intellectual property, we are talking about ownership over any creative kind of work from somebody's mind. Be it a song, an art piece, a drawing. People have found their work enjoyed by other people and how do you claim for that? How do you claim for ownership of that piece of work? When we talk about intellectual property, that's what we mean. Patent, copyright, those are the legal names. And we are having a discussion about an initiation of a system that can galvanize a fight for whoever will claim for their work in Africa, and it's called the Africa Intellectual Property Rights and Innovations, AFRIPI, which is being launched today on the sidelines of an diplomatic conference that has been held here in Munyonyo since last week on Friday. So we're having a discussion with Mr. Ignacio de Madrano Caballero. He's an official from the European Union Intellectual Property Office, and he's telling us a number of things. Welcome back from the break.
Thank you.
What's the impact of intellectual property on an economy? Its absence and presence. How does it impact on an economy?
Excellent question. This is something that we are trying to, let me start by here. We are trying to demonstrate with figures how intellectual property is impacting in any economy all over the world. For this, we started in my office, the EUIPO, to do some specific studies to know that how those companies and those artists who invest in intellectual property have a more impact in the general economy of a country, of any country, and how those companies who invest on intellectual property have, for instance, much more impact also on the growth, on employment in any given country. For this, there is some studies that we have developed at the European Union level, and this was already demonstrated at this stage. These kind of studies we are going to do it also in Africa to demonstrate with figures how this is a real issue, in order also for let's say those who, for governing and for policy makers, to invest on intellectual property, given the fact that, as I said, it doesn't only give a direct investment and a direct income to those who are creating, but in general terms to any economy that invests and has the possibility to protect the creations and the inventions of their people through intellectual property systems.
So countries that do not enforce it make losses.
Exactly. This is a little bit one of the elements that we are considering. This is a complex activity, because it means to involve not only policymakers, not only the society, not only the creators, but at the same time it is something that at a certain stage it has, as I said, some effective and real improvements in the development and in the growth of any economy in the world.
Okay. We were looking at issues in a broader sense, and now want us to come a little closer to AFRIPI. We are launching AFRIPI today. What is the launch going to entail, and what is AFRIPI exactly coming to do? I want us now to look at it in particular.
AFRIPI is a technical cooperation program on partnership between the European Union and the African intellectual property organizations. What we are trying to do is together to modernize the intellectual property systems. We are trying also, one of the objectives of the systems is that small and medium enterprises and the artists in Africa take advantage of the systems, as we were discussing before the break, having awareness, knowing the existence of these systems. So we have to do some campaigns in order to publicize and to give them the possibility to understand how they can get advantage, how they can take advantage of the existence of these systems. We are also working on a very specific intellectual property right that it is called Geographical Indication. That means that any specific product with a quality coming, for instance, from Uganda or from any other African country, can, with this protection, take more, in some way, advantage of the quality of the product, in linking the quality with the product as such, in order to export and to have more possibilities of labeling it and increasing the capacity of the producers of the product to have a higher price on the product. I give you an example in Africa that we just did. This is a pepper in Cameroon, Penja pepper, that is being protected now at European Union level. Cabrito de Tet from Mozambique, it's been another one. So to focalize in a specific product, and with this to have the producers of the product in a single association, having a single label that demonstrates the quality of the product.
Okay, ideally, how applicable is the arrangement going to be? Because I want to look at it as a replica of what EUIPO is doing now in Africa. The two environments are different. That is the European Union and the African continent. So what's the applicability of the idea here on the beautiful black soil?
The applicability, I mean, is very clear. What we are doing, there's some difference, but at the end of the day, the systems that we are applying are international, so they are very uniform. There's uniformity in the legal systems in all over the world, and finally, it is quite simple systems as such. I mean, the registration doesn't change so much from Europe to Africa. The way on which we protect is quite similar. What we try is to see how the systems develop it on a practical way, and how to get advantage of this, let's say, development that we have done through the program with AFRIPI in order to exchange views and to improve the simplicity and the efficiency of the systems.
So in terms of applicability, there will be no adjustments. Exactly what you're doing at the EUIPO is what is going to be brought to AFRIPI.
Not exactly. There is some adaptations that are needed, but not so much. Let's say on the way it is applied. Also, let me try to explain it. Any registration office have the same steps on having the protection granted to any company. The tools that we develop in Europe are more or less having the same steps that are needed in order to protect in Africa. What we do is to propose, and we will have this afternoon the occasion to talk to the 20 IP offices about these systems, and then to see with them what kind of adaptation is needed in order to, first of all, be compatible with their own legal framework, and secondly, to adapt to the, let's say, the traditions and the habits of their companies in their own country. But in a simple way, there is quite an easy interoperability, let's call it like this, of the systems in the different parts of the world. So it's not so complicated to adapt whatever it is developed by anyone to the systems in other parts of the world. We have done it already. I mean, with the systems that we have and the programs that I was mentioning before in Asia, in Latin America, China, and we are now starting with AFRIPI, as you said, launching it today, in order to cover with the program the 54 countries of Africa, and working with them, but mainly with those associations as regional associations, as ARIPO, with which Uganda is one of the member states, in order to improve and to have these systems developed together with the program that we are launching today.
How easy or difficult will it be to harmonize the legal diversity within the different countries that are going to be party to this? Or what kind of groundwork has been done to ensure that?
This is exactly what it is discussed right now in this diplomatic conference that it is taking place here.
Will one conference be enough?
At least to develop a treaty that it will have a uniform and harmonized system for the 20 countries that are part of ARIPO, including Uganda, and that will allow to have a system that it is more or less similar in the 20 countries. So this diplomatic conference is the first step. Then it will have to be implemented by each of the national offices, together with the regional organization that it is placed in Harare in Zimbabwe, and with which we are collaborating very strongly. One of the members of my team is working directly in Harare in order to implement AFRIPI together with this organization. So our challenge for the next years, together with our African colleagues, is to make it that this system, it is aware, I mean, it's known by the artists, by the creators, and at the same time, it is effective. So first step is now, diplomatic conference, then will come to make it practical for the creators and for the people.
How about the diversity within political beliefs and interests of different countries? Won't there be beliefs of interference and protection of some information amongst different countries? Or what kind of arrangement is there to jump that hurdle again? Because the legalities, like you said, discussions, it involves discussions like the conferences and agreements. But now, political interests, some may not be revealed. You get? What arrangement is there?
I would say that from the moment that there is agreement, and I hope that this is going to take place
We
right
have
now
seen
here.
countries breach agreements to save political interests.
Yeah, this is in some way just to maybe to go on another side. This is not so political in some way. I mean, from the moment that there is an interest to protect the creators of a country and countries gather together, there is not so much, let's say, confrontation or competition between the countries. This is public registries, and it's just to make possible for the creators of all the countries to protect their own. But I don't see too many political constraints from the moment that they agreed that it is easier to do it together than to do it on an individual basis, country per country.
Okay. You expect an agreement, a smooth agreement among the countries?
I really hope so.
Let us look at the enforcement. We are launching a Afripi today. What next after?
Enforcement is the second step. What we do at the Intellectual Property Office...
I want the details of now the enforcement.
Now, enforcement is one of the challenges all over the world. What we do is, first of all, to provide a tool to the creators in order to demonstrate that they have created anything. A picture, a book, as we were saying, whatever artistic work. But if someone copies this creation, then the enforcement is what it is needed. And this is something that it is always done at national level. Okay. This is not possible, not at the European Union, not in Africa, at international or regional level. That is what it is needed to be developed, so to by each country to develop the enforcement authorities, enforcement agencies that are able to protect those who have created in order to bring them to the justice. I mean, so I'm talking here about police, I'm talking here about customs in order to avoid counterfeiting coming from other countries. I'm talking about the judiciary.
Infringement on the right to own.
Exactly, exactly. So be able to claim the infringement between the national authorities and to have the possibility to have some kind of compensation because of the infringement or the counterfeiting that has been done to the work. So a Afripi, what we will do also is to try to, in some way, have these enforcement agencies, these enforcement authorities, in some way also learned about intellectual property and have the possibility to implement it in a proper way according to their national laws. This is, as I said, a very important step, because not only with registration you have the protection, you need the support of the enforcement authorities if something bad happened with your creation.
Okay. In countries where we have seen a realization of success in terms of protecting rights to intellectual property, what have been the challenges and how much foundation have we laid for a country, for an area like within the African continent? Because piracy is also sophisticated. They are not very ordinary people that do it, you get?
Yeah.
So, what are the challenges and how much are we giving to the laid foundation as we start Afripi to see that we really put a serious bar?
Challenges are enormous, as you said.
Can we know them?
Yeah. First of all is try to understand and to see where counterfeiting is coming from. This is very important. There's a lot of counterfeiting coming from different parts of the world, and trying to understand what we have seen, at least at the European Union level, is that maybe something that we consider that it is not, let's say, something very risky, as, I don't know, copying some glasses, some cell phones, but these people who are trafficking with counterfeited goods, they do it also with much more risky things. This is what, first of all, need to be known. Secondly, is that the enforcement authorities are able to tackle with their own mechanisms these counterfeited goods and to protect the creators. For this we have, and we have had in many different ways, gathering all together, as I said, judges, police, customs authorities, in order for them to understand what is the importance of intellectual property and how to help the society, their own society, in having the protection and having the possibility of getting advantage of their creations and not having someone else, a third party, copying their own creations.
Won't that take training?
Exactly.
Courses of the manpower that is going to be involved manually to handle the protection kind of systems, because look at the area where the piracy is in a sophisticated kind of manner, where you don't need a police officer just to go and arrest somebody. It is technologically done in a sophisticated kind of manner. You have heard of hackers on websites and people's social media platforms and things like that. You have heard of people that get into bank systems. How about piracy? What kind of systems are going to be with a freebie to handle such sophisticated networks?
This is an excellent question. When we realized how important was to fight against counterfeiting and piracy in the European Union, we create what we call an observatory. This observatory, first, what it made is studies to demonstrate how harmful was for the society this piracy. Secondly, to gather together, as you were saying, in order to train and to develop the skills of our enforcement authorities in this difficult world that, as you said, is developing at technological level. It is very complicated. E-commerce is now one of the biggest challenges on counterfeiting and piracy, and how they should be able to identify this counterfeited and to protect their own society. So we have a lot of things to do with AFRIP in the next years, in the collaboration with our African colleagues, in order to provide these skills to the enforcement authorities, that they are not, let's say, experts, of course, because they have many other tasks, but at least to let them know how they can also defend their own societies against this clear damage that it is created to those who are developing their own creations and their originality of the works that they are doing.
Okay, so I want to take you back to something to do with geographical limitations of a certain piece of work. Can you throw more light on it, and how can it be monitored anyway? In fact, is there work that can be pirated beyond a certain limit, a certain geographical kind of boundary?
This is one of the biggest challenges. You are completely right. I mean, counterfeiting is a worldwide and international.
But is there a creative kind of piece that can only be not pirated in Uganda? But if somebody has it in Kenya, it's okay. Is there anything like that?
What we have to develop, and it needs to be developed, is communication between the enforcement agencies of the different countries. That is what we did with this observatory at the European Union level. The European Union level, we have a little bit the same system. The systems are limited geographically, but at least what we could do is, with our means, to bring together the police of the different countries, the customs authorities of the different countries, the judges, in order to share experience among them of cases that they handle, in order to communicate and to develop some systems of communication in order for them to transmit what it is happening in Kenya to, for instance, the judge in Kenya that has handled a case on counterfeiting, in order to share with his colleague in Uganda what was the output and how he handled this case. Jurisdictions are, of course, independent one from the other, but there is always things that we can share on practices and how we handle cases, because counterfeiting, as you rightly mentioned, is an international issue that needs to be tackled by authorities altogether.
Okay. We thank you so much. We're coming towards the end of this engagement. We thank you for the time and whatever we have shared. But as we wind up, so are countries going to have, there are countries that have laws to do with intellectual property. Some of the laws, actually, like we talked about the diversity. Are you going to ask the countries to have a uniform law or make adjustments to meet the standards of what Afripi is coming with?
We start by some international standards that we use in all over the world.
Yes, because the standard may come, but I have a law that does not accommodate some clauses within the standards of Afripi. So what is going to happen?
Yeah, that is exactly what needs to be done and needs to be discussed among, let's say, the experts of each country. How the international standards are being set up, and this is something that we all use all over the world, and what need of adaptation it is needed in order to provide a better solution for the specific country. As you said, there is something that are very similar and should be in some way harmonized, but at the same time there is other elements that need to be adapted. Afripi is there in order to see how and what it is needed, listening to our African colleagues, and to work together in order to adapt the solutions to the needs of the specific countries that we are operating with.
Thank you so much, Ignacio. Just a closing remark from you about the expectations an African creator should have in as far as Afripi is concerned as we launch it today in this country.
This is a real opportunity. We are talking about systems that really can provide an added value to anyone who is creating in Africa. Africa, as we all know, all over the world, is one of the best places to create, and all the traditions that have been here for many years, it is something that all people and all artists from the world get inspiration. What we want with this program is to support those African creators in order to take advantage of their own creations and to be able to export it and to be protected not only in Africa but in other jurisdictions and other export markets in which their products or their creations will be broadcasted. This is a little bit one of the scopes of the program.
Okay, we thank you so much and wish you all the best in all these endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Yes, his name is Ignacio Di Medrano Caballero. He's the head of service at the International Cooperation and Legal Affairs Department of the International Cooperation of the European Union Intellectual Property Office. We shared a lot to do with intellectual property in this 1 hour, and I'm sure whoever has some creative works you are putting up, you now know what is coming up and how much security you will be enjoying after the launch of the Afripi. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa with the whole team here. We wish you the best of the day. Bye-bye.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.